Starting on chapter 4, congruent figures. So when we talk about congruent figures, we're talking about corresponding parts. So corresponding parts means the parts that are the same or equal. When I have two congruent polygons, that means all congruent or corresponding parts are the same or equal. When you name congruent polygons, you must list corresponding vertices in the same order. So here's a congruent statement right below. I can use this congruent statement to help me either label a picture to come up with my congruent parts or just come up with my congruent parts. Now, if I have the first letter is going to be congruent to the first letter, that's why I can say A is congruent to E. Those are just angles. My second letter is going to be congruent to my second letter. Again, those are just angles, so B would be congruent to F. Third letter is going to be congruent to my third letter, and again, those are angles. And my last is going to be congruent to my last. Now when you're talking about side lengths, my first two letters are going to be one side, and that's going to be congruent to my first two letters on my other side of my congruent statement. So that's why I can say AB is congruent to EF. And I would follow that same pattern. BC are the middle letters, so my little middle letters over here would be FG. So those two sides would be congruent. When I have CD, those are going to be congruent to GH, CD and GH. And then I have the first and last letter, AD and EF. AD and EF. So I'd also have to state that. So this is the corresponding parts. This is my congruent statement, and this is just a picture of two congruent polygons. So now I have a congruent statement above. The congruent statement deals with these two pictures. Right now, I want you to pause the video. Yes, pause the video, and I want you to state all the congruent sides and angles. You should have 4 of each. Again, state all the congruent sides and angles. So all my congruent angles should be H, L, I, M, J, N, K, O. Now when I wrote out, oops, these should be flip-flopped. When I wrote out my sides, these are my sides, and these are my angles. I just went down the row. So HI are by each other, so LM should be congruent. IJ and MN, JK and NO. And then my first and last, and my first and last. So those would be all my corresponding parts. So now I have that triangle WYS is congruent to triangle K or MKV. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to draw WYS and MKV because this is going to help me. So W and M were labeled first, so I know W and M are going to be congruent. And then Y and K were stated second, so those two are congruent. And then I know S and V are going to be congruent. So now I'm going to label what the problem gives me. It says W is 62. So I also know M is 62 because those are congruent. And it says Y is 35. So I know K is 35. So it's asking what is angle V. And now since I labeled my corresponding parts and what they are equal to, I can figure out what V is equal to because all the angles in a triangle are equal to 180. So I can set up my equation 62 plus 35 is equal to 180. Then I would have 97 plus x is equal to 180. And I would subtract 97 on both sides of my, and I would get x is equal to 83 degrees, which is also equal to the angle V. And that's my final answer. Now we have a theorem here, and it's the third angle theorem. And we could do the long way, and I could show you why this is true. If I know angle A and B and C are all in a triangle, then I know A plus B plus C is equal to 180. And D, E, and F, D plus E plus F is equal to 180. Now in this picture, angle B and E are the same and A and D are the same. So I'm going to use my transitive property or substitution property, and I'm just going to replace those two things. So I could say that A plus B plus F is equal to 180. Again, all I did was replace D and E with A and B. So if I solve for C right here, I would get C is equal to 180 minus A minus B. If I solve for F over here, I would get F is equal to 180 minus A minus B. And now when you look at this, both C and F are equal to the same thing. So that's why whenever I know two angles in a triangle are congruent, then I know my third angle has to be congruent to the third angle in the other triangle. So that is all I have for you today. Have a wonderful evening. Fill out the Google form. I'll see you tomorrow. Check it.